All right, and then learning from mistakes. Oh my gosh, how many of you made a mistake in your life here? Okay, a few of you. Okay. All right, so they provide valuable feedback, don't they? I think we absolutely learn from our mistakes, hopefully, and we take that knowledge and we apply it to something new. And we either try again or we try it differently, and then we can just continually grow and develop, and we want to do that for our students too. So what I would like to do is to show you a framework that I actually mentioned yesterday on the panel, and this does provide a wonderful way for you to think about how you can incorporate a safe learning environment for these types of mistakes, for these fails, where students can thrive and grow in the learning process. So this is challenge-based learning. Many of you may do project-based learning, many of you may do challenge-based learning, but this was actually started years ago. It went to Digital Promise. I think it's now back with Apple, and they work a lot in challenge-based learning, but it goes in this cyclical process, and you can see all the way through it. You document, you reflect, you share through this entire journey. So you start in the engagement. Through essential questioning, the learners move from a big idea to concrete and actionable challenge. So they are working with the teacher to define what questions are we asking? How do we figure out what we want to solve? So they take a global problem and they think about locally, how can we solve this in our classroom? And I walk around these halls, and you probably have this happening in a lot of your halls at your school. You're doing things like this. So you're solving a challenge. So you figure out the big idea, the essential questions that you want to answer, and then the challenge that you want to issue. And you want to make a lasting impact in your environment. So then they move into the investigation phase. And this is definitely where a lot of wonderful failure happens. So they plan, participate, and they build this foundation for the solutions that they want to actually execute. I know I've gone to several schools and I've worked with students on doing challenge-based learning, and the interesting thing is they'll get into this investigative phase. They'll say, okay, these are the questions we need to figure out. These are the different activities. These are the resources we need. We'll call people, we'll ask questions. But when we get to the act on it, this is where a lot of it stops. Because a lot of times, and I'm going to just speak for US education, a lot of times there's not action. We stop at investigation, and then we move to our next concept that we need to cover. And so the action really, I think, is the magic of challenge-based learning. So they are developing, implementing a solution with an authentic audience. And so with that, they are also evaluating after they've implemented their solution. I mean, we've seen some incredible implementations. There was a group that wanted to figure out I know for me, if I fail at something, I am driven to do something even greater because I want to prove to myself and to prove to others, yeah, I may not have done, I had a great situation last year at work where I failed so hard. It was a very challenging time, and I said, I will never do this again, and I will make sure that the next time the situation happens, I am going to absolutely nail it. And I've had those situations again, and I have learned from my mistakes and definitely not gone down that same road. They can ignite determination and drive when we're talking about failure. And so we just need to remind students of that. It's okay, because next time you know what to do. So here's an example. How many of you allow for failure in your assessment with students without giving them an F? Okay, I see a couple. So one thing that we did years ago in this online degree program I was running, one of the first things is anytime we introduced a new concept, especially if it was new, so the course was filmmaking for educators, and we took them in, this is going to show you how old this is, we took them into Second Life, and they created this thing called a machinima, where they acted out, they had a director, they had all the actors, and they acted out what they were going to do, and then they cut it together. But it was something so new that we made it a no-fail assignment because a new concept was being introduced. So the first one is like your freebie. So giving those opportunities for them to fail fast, fail often, and keep going and learn is a wonderful way for us to really think about embracing failure in our assessment. And I realize we can't always do that when it comes to assessment, but the more we can do it, even if it's a small assignment, is a wonderful way for us to just show failure. All right, I want to share an example. This is the RISE model. It's created by a friend of mine, Emily Ray. There's no such thing as no. So one of the things that's really important is to overcome the student's fear of failure. And I think the earlier we can ingrain this, the more powerful it can be. And so we need to reframe how we approach failure with students. So a good example of students' resilience in failure. Can anybody think of a good example of what students love to do that incorporates failure and they keep going constantly?